Hi everyone, we are Big Ngọc and Kelly. Today we are going to discuss the important event in world history, industrialization. And to understand more about it, we will answer three questions. The first is what is industrialization and industrial revolution. The second one is what did industrialization develop and spread. And the final one is what were social impacts of it. Let's start with part one. First, industrialization is a process of social and economic change whereby a human society is transformed from a pre-industrial to an industrial state. And industrial revolution were fundamental change in the way goods were produced, from human labor to machine. Here is one simple statistic that sums up it. Before the Industrial Revolution, about 80% of world population were engaged in farming to keep itself and the other 20% of people from starving. Today in the USA, less than 1% of people list their occupation as farming. We can see that industrial revolution triggered an enormous leap in industrial production. Coal and steam replaced wind and water as a new source of energy and power to drive labor-saving machines. During the Industrial Revolution, Europe shifted an economy based on agriculture and handicrafts to an economy based on manufacturing by machine and automated factories. Moving on to the second part, we focus on the developments and spread of Industrial Revolution. This revolution began in Great Britain after 1750. To tell you about the origins, it is true that a number of factories in Britain coalesced to produce the Industrial Revolution. Improvements in agricultural practice in the 18th century led to a significant increase in food production. At that time, rapid population growth provided a surplus labor for the new factories. Britain also had a supply of capital for investment in the new industrial machine and the factories. In addition to profits from cheese and cottage industry, Britain possessed an effective central bank and well-developed flexible credit facilities, but capital is not only part of the histories. Britain has a number of individuals who were interested in making profit if the opportunity presented itself. Britain also had supplies of important mineral resources such as coal and iron ore needed in the manufacturing process. It was small and the relatively short distance made transportation non-problematic. Western government too played a significant role in the process of industrialization. Policemen contributed to the favorable business climate by providing a stable government and passing laws that protected private property. Another aspect of the development of industrial revolution in Great Britain is the investment in new technologies. The invention of flying shuttle which increased the speed of weaving. The next invention is James Hargreaves' spinning jenny, perfected by 1768, allows spinners to produce yarn in greater quantity. What pushed the cotton industry to greater heights of productivity was the invention of steam engine. In the 1760s, James Watt built an engine powered by steam that could pump water from 3 times as quicker as previous engine. In 1782, Watt developed a rotary engine that could turn a shaft and drive machinery. Steam power could be applied to spin and weaving cotton, and cotton mills using steam engines were multiplying across Britain. It is considered as a leap in textile production. One more considerable technological change is the iron industry. Since the Middle Ages, the new high-quality wood iron was used to build the new machine. It was a direct factor contributing to the development of railroads. In 1830, Stephenson open railway line stretching from Liverpool to Manchester. Within 20 years, locomotive has reached 50 miles per hour. By 1840, Britain has almost 6,000 miles of railroads. It is concluded that the railroads were an important contribution to the development of Industrial Revolution.
The spread of industrialization made 1800s Great Britain the world leader in the Industrial Revolution. From Great Britain, industrialization spread to the continental countries of Europe and the US at different times and speeds during the 19th century. Great Britain attempted to ban the export of its methods and technologies, but it soon failed. In 1812, US industrialized after the wars of 1812. After 1825, France joined the Industrial Revolution following the French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars. Circa 1870, Germany industrialized at rapid pace with Belgium, Italy, Sweden, Holland, and Switzerland were slower to industrialize. After 1870, a surge of industrialization began in Russia and Japan. At that time, Russia was also turning out half of the world's production of oil with a program of massive tunnel construction. Japan financial with the development of tunnels and tea and building. So the third part of industrialization is social impacts. The first one is population growth and urbanization. The second impacts on middle class, and the last one impacts on working. Population growth and urbanization began to increase in 18th century as the pace accelerated dramatically in the 19th. The key to expansion of population was a decline in death rate. Evidence throughout Europe. Throughout Europe, cities and towns grew rapidly in the first half of the 19th century. A phenomenon related to industrialization. By 1850, especially in Great Britain and Belgium, cities were rapidly becoming home for many industries. With the steam engine, family factory owners could locate their manufacturing plants in urban centers. So many large number of new arrivals from the country looking for work. Dramatic growth of cities produced miserable living conditions for many sub-inhabitants. Located in the centers of most industrial towns were the row houses of the industrial workers. Rooms was not large and were frequently overcrowded. Sanitary conditions in the town were appalling. Sewer and open drains were common on city streets. Unable to deal with human waste, cities in the early industrial era smelled horrible and were extraordinarily unhealthy. So towns and cities were dark traps. Only a constant influx of people from the country kept them alive and growing. So industrialization have profound impacts on class structure. So impacts on middle class. The rise of industrial revolution produced a new sub-middle class. The bourgeoisie had existed since the emergence of cities in the Middle Age. Originally, the bourgeoisie was simply a town dweller, active as a merchant, officer, artisan, lawyer, and man of letters. The term bourgeoisie came to be applied to people involved in commerce, industries and banking, as well as professionals such as teachers, citizens, and government officials, regardless of where they live. Members of the industrial middle class sought to reduce the barrier between themselves and landed elite, but it's clear that they try at the same time to separate themselves from the laboring classes below them. The working class were actually a mixture of different groups in the first half of the 19th century, but in the course of that century, factory workers would form an industrial proletariat that constituted a majority of the working class. So impacts on working class. Many workers face restricted working conditions. Work shifts range from 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week with a half hour for lunch and dinner. No security of employment, no minimum wage. The worst conditions were in the cotton mill where temperatures were debilitating. So conditions in the coal mine were also harsh. Dangerous conditions. The grim conditions in the mine tunnels were only 3 or 4 feet high, and their constant dampness led to deformed bodies and ruined lives. Both children and women worked in the last number in early factories and mines. So children, and especially daughters, were an important economic resource for working class families, as were put to work at a young age between 10 to 40 years to continue to family income. So the owners of cotton factories found child labor very helpful. Moreover, children were more easily trained to do factory work. Children under 18 made up 29% of total workforce in 1838. By 1830, women and children made up two-thirds of the cotton industry's labor. After 1870, women made up 50% of the labor force in textile factories, and they were paid half or less of what they men received. Hence, impacts on younger children, especially till 1840s, was very low. Literacy rates. The independence was accompanied by greater vulnerability of economic and sexual exploitation of young girls. Just the prostitution developed as a new occupation in order to survive, because employment was seasonal and unsustainable due to economic fluctuations. So, laws that limited the work hours of children and women also led to a new pattern of work based on a separation of work and home. Domestic industry made it possible for women to continue their contribution to family survival.